Hey, welcome to the Lovelda Show, Women of Power podcast. I'm your host, Lovelda Vincenzi, and this is the show where women share their personal power tools, which I define as the tools, techniques, or strategies which have enabled their success in life and business. I ask all of my guests to be real, raw, honest, authentic, and vulnerable, dare I say. So this is a girl chat show like no other, where we really do dive into what it is to be a powerful woman, the real tools behind a woman's success. Now, if you're on this channel, do hit that subscribe button right now and hit the bell to make sure that you're notified when new shows are added. You can also subscribe to find us on Instagram, which is at the Lovelda Show. You'll find all links that have been shared in the show in the show notes. And right now we're going to hop straight over whilst I do a audio introduction before we jump into the full show. So let's get started. Hey, chicas, welcome to the Lovelda Show Women of Power podcast, the show where women share their personal power tools, the techniques, strategies, and ways of being which have enabled their business and life success. I'm your host, Lovelda Vincenzi, an international MC, host, and female speaking business coach on a mission to unleash authentic, powerful female voices onto the world. This is a girl chat show like no other. All of my guests get real, raw, and authentic whilst sharing pure gold. In today's episode, we'll be uncovering the power tools of Lysandra Smith. Lysandra is a congenital heart patient in need of a transplant, a patient advocate who is working and living through the difficulties of long-term illness in a society that doesn't consider the daily disadvantages of disability, especially hidden disability. She is seeking a societal change and shift in the perception of disability and what it means to be disabled, and to help patients with the emotional issues that come with being constantly ill. In this episode, we'll cover the gifts of living with a disability and how to navigate challenging times. Listen, if you're ready to get paid more for sharing your expertise, use the link in the show notes to download your copy of my Speaker Marketing Blueprint. It's your guide to building the speaker marketing assets that reflect your expertise and increase your fee regardless of if you're brand new to speaking or ready to level up your speaking career. You'll also find that all links to my latest special offers are in the show notes. At the time of recording this show, I've just opened the doors to my half-day Fix Your LinkedIn Profile program, and you'll be able to find the links to exactly what that is down in the show notes. Finally, the notes also hold all of the links that are shared by my guests. Ooh, and P.S., remember to get your regular fix of this show, click that subscribe button to make sure that you get updates when a new show is added, or subscribe to get notification direct into your inbox. Now, I'm pretty sure you're pretty sick of hearing from me right now, so shall we just jump in and get on with the show? Hey, chicas, welcome back to the Lovelda Show Women of Power podcast. Now, you may have noticed that we are, I'm pretending that I'm together at the moment and that I can do a live show. So my guest is actually, oi, don't laugh, it's not funny, this is real. I'm gonna explain to you why my guests be laughing at me. It's not okay. So we are doing, rather than me and my guests being in different locations, we are actually in the same location. So if you're not following on YouTube, then head over to the YouTube page, click that subscribe button, and you can watch all of the craziness that's about to go down in this show. So like I said, we're in season 2, which is freaking awesome. And I am going deeper to get more rawness, realness, authenticness from all of my guests in this season. Now, today's guest is particularly special to mine. I'm gonna have a moment, okay? Just give me a moment. Stop giggling. Today's guest is particularly important to me because she's my baby sister. Yes, I said it. I knew that was gonna stop the giggling. It changed it from giggling to a little bit of what are you doing? So, and there's a real reason I've brought her on this show today. She's actually one of my biggest inspirations. And by the time we get into her story, you will totally understand why. And I think there's a lot that people can learn in terms of open-mindedness, but just also in terms of being able to, let's just face it, 2020 has been a tough year, okay? So if there's any inspiration folk can get from this show to just keep showing up 100% and do you, this chick's gonna help you with it. Please welcome to the show today, my sibling, Lysandra Smith.
Hello.
How are you feeling, girl?
To the mic, and I always think that people shouldn't do that, and now I'm doing it myself. It's really annoying. But hello, How are you all? My name's Lysandra. Hi.
Oh gosh, I love it. So this is Lysandra's very first interview. I only half had to talk her into it, I promise. She's proper excited about this.
Yeah, totally.
So I already said some of this in the intro to the show. You've got a congenital heart condition. You were born with that, which really led to an interesting upbringing. So let's maybe like reverse and go back there. For people who don't know you, and let's just face it, for people who don't know what the heck a congenital heart condition be, what is it?
So a congenital heart condition is literally a heart condition that you were born with. So I didn't develop it in later life. It didn't come to me suddenly in the middle of the night. It was there from the time I was born, and it will be with me for the rest of my life, which means that goes with a lot of treatment, a lot of hospital visits, a lot of different things. As you can see, I put a great face on today, so I don't look ill at the moment.
You're looking a little bit like Rihanna today. She's having a Rihanna moment.
But it is, I am quite ill, and I will need a heart transplant in the next few years if I'm going to continue living. And yeah, that's basically what a congenital heart problem is. And it can be as serious or as mild as it can be. Like some people have, just a tiny hole in their heart, they get that fixed and they're off for the rest of their life and they're fine. Other people have a harder time with it. It really just depends on what your hand has been dealt.
And on that spectrum of like really easy, tiny little hole, let's stitch that up and move on, and oh heck, we got a situation, where are you on the spectrum?
That's a tough question because it depends who you ask. If you ask me, I'm fine. On some days I'm not so fine. On other days I'm really not fine. But sometimes you sit down, and that's the thing with a long-term illness, you kind of forget sometimes how ill you actually are, because you're just going day-to-day life, just living through, friendship, family, like everything else that everybody else is living through, but you have this extra bit. So sometimes it hits you and you're like, oh, that's bad. That's real bad.
All right, so let's put it like this. Given that you can't, from your position in the congenital heart condition, describe to us where that is on a phase of yeah to oh heck, maybe if you just tell us what the issues are, like in layman's terms, because there'd be lots of them. No, seriously, we'll be talking medical speak if she goes too far. So for folks who haven't been to medical school, can you explain it?
I haven't been to medical school.
Yeah, I know, but you may as well have been. For folks who haven't been to medical school and don't understand medical terminology, in like layman's terms, what is the condition that you have?
So I have something called tricuspid atresia.
I said not medical terms.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Which basically is, I was born with 3 different issues with my heart. That's where the tri comes in with the 3. I have no tricuspid valve as well. And so then on top of that, I was born with 2 holes and a heart murmur. But later on, things started developing as my illness progressed that caused more issues, shall we say. Like I started having rhythm disturbances where my heart would go too fast or it would go too slow. If it goes too slow, you generally pass out. So I've had to have pacemakers and ablations, which is where they go in and they try to take the scar tissue off, because that's where the little firing thing will happen, and then it will cause your heart to go into a weird rhythm. So I've had 5 of those, I think. And then there have just been other things, and then a general deterioration, because when I was younger, I had something called a Fontan operation that was very cutting edge when I had it. However, now they're realizing patients about 30 years later, which is kind of my timeline, are having some issues. So a lot of them are needing to be put forward for more treatment, or can't be treated at all, depending how bad they are. Or in my case, hopefully I'll be put on the transplant list, which is what we're going for at the moment. And then I will get a heart transplant and it will go successful. But that's a whole nother story right there, really.
So it's really in the spectrum of, oh heck, we got a problem.
I would say in the next like 3 years, I'm gonna have a problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but how do you cope with that? Because, all right, let's just rewind. This year, 2020, people, we've had the pandemic, we've had coronavirus, we've had Black Lives Matter. I mean, it's been a year of turmoil, and there'll be people who are listening into this going, where do I start? How do I operate? Now, for somebody like you, whom these sort of unknowns, an unknown entity has been kind of hanging over you since you could remember, really. How do you navigate that space when you don't know what's happening tomorrow? You don't know if you're going to wake up tomorrow and be in a good mood, you're having a good day, or whether tomorrow is going to be a hard day where you just don't have the energy to do things. How do you plan and navigate that?
You don't plan. Never plan. No, I mean, like, you can plan some things. You can plan, I'll kind of do this tomorrow if I'm able to, or whatever, or I intend to see this person or whatever. But some days plans just don't go to plan, really. And it can be really frustrating, and it can be really annoying, and especially when you have a situation where your body is kind of deteriorating, but your mind is still like, come on, let's go. Like, we've got all these things to do. Like, I want to do this and I want to do this. So that can be very difficult. I think the thing that helped me most over the years that I found, and I had to go to therapy for years as well, because I did develop depression and anxiety over it, because you don't really know where you stand day to day, and it's just hard to plan things out. And as humans, we like to plan things out. So it got to a point where I had to start doing like meditation, and sort of mindfulness really started helping me, because I would just be like, okay, can't do it today, just gonna let that go and focus on something else instead. And then just bring yourself to the present moment, rather than start worrying about, well, if I don't do this, then this will happen. And then, oh, I meant to do it yesterday, and now it's going to be even more delayed.
It's like this spiral, right? You kind of have one thought, and then next thing you know, you're in a...
spirals into anxiety about even bigger things, because then you feel like you're not living your life. Then you feel like you're not progressing as far as you want to progress. And you start feeling doubtful about your existence, I suppose, and why you're here, and what your purpose is, and whatever. And it really is difficult to let all of that go. But when you're having like a really stressful moment, it is good to just sort of be like, okay, in this moment, I am here, I'm still living, I'm still breathing, my family's okay, my friends are okay, my loved ones are okay, boyfriend or partner or whoever's okay. So I'm just going to stop and let my body have a rest, and forgive myself for this, and give myself permission to be upset, or having a bit of a breakdown, or not happy, because a lot of people try to cover up being upset. And I found the best way to deal with it, and it is difficult, is really to just go through it. Just allow yourself those times and those moments to be like, right, I'm sad at the moment, or I'm frustrated at the moment, and here's why. And I'm going to give myself permission to feel that way, and then we're going to move on.
Rather than kind of just try and skim over it, onto the next, just kind of be in the moment.
It turned into this big barrel of things, and next thing you know, it's like something coming down a hill and collecting things all the way on the way. Like, it just keeps going to the point where then you have a massive breakdown, and you're like, oh, everything's wrong, and I don't know what's happening, and oh my god, because
it's like, it starts with, I can't get out of bed today, and it ends with, I think I'm dying. Like, it's
and not just I think I'm dying. It starts with, I can't get out of bed today, and it ends with, what is my purpose in life?
Oh gosh, no, not those depths. We don't want to go there.
So you really do need to give yourself permission as a human being to feel the way you're feeling, and to know that it is okay in that moment to feel that way. Obviously, if you feel that way for weeks and months on end, you need to consult someone, a professional, to help you get through that, to talk you through it. Maybe you need medication, maybe you need therapy, and that is also perfectly okay and understandable. And a great thing to do for you as a human, because humans are complicated. So our emotions are complicated and they're tied to all these different things. So when you feel upset, it's okay to just be like, I feel upset.
I love that, because I think as just generally as women, we have this tendency to really want to just be strong and let's move on to the next thing.
Definitely.
Let's just brush it over. Like, you know, we've got things to get on with.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be women listening to this who are mothers, who've got other people who are depending on them. It's like, they can't afford to see me like this. But what I'm hearing from you is actually for your own well-being, it's important to honor those moments. The moment of I'm upset, I'm hurt, I'm angry, I'm frustrated. Let me just allow it to be, so I can fully let it go.
You have to sit in that moment. So when you do let it go, it's gone. It's not lingering around.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think it's important to point out, from a woman's perspective, we've always been expected to just pick up the ball and go. Like, you know, you just keep going, especially if you have kids or a job or whatever. You know, we don't have time, you know, to sit down and be like, oh, my back hurts because I have a period and I'm upset and I'm moody and whatever. No, just keep going. And that kind of trickles into every other part of our lives. And then on the male side, it's kind of like, oh, bro, you can't do that. That's, you know, oh, be a man, you know, like kind of thing. And it's just sort of like, we need to find a balance in between keeping going and having that moment to sit in our grief or in our sadness or in our frustration or in our anger or whatever. Obviously, don't sit in it for like a month.
Like acknowledge when it's sitting for a moment and when you've just like decided to take up residence.
Day or two, fair enough. Whereas if it's gone on for quite a while, it's time for you to kind of acknowledge that you personally need some help to get over it and seek that help. And it's okay to seek help and it's good to seek help. And if anything, you are honoring yourself and your family and your friends by seeking help. Because what's the point of you being here if you don't get the best of you and they don't get the best of you? That's what you're after. And sometimes that means going from, hi, could you reach that tall thing for me on the counter so you could go on your day and have a nice meal or whatever, to, hey, I need some help and I need to talk about this because it's really affecting me and my relationships and whatever.
It's okay to talk. I think sometimes people just need to hear this. It's okay to talk and it's good to ask for help. This is going to sound like a bit of an oddball question, but I'm going to ask it because, because I firmly believe that there's a gift in every experience, even the ones we don't like. Yes, even the ones we don't like. Because without it, you don't get to learn, you don't get to grow, you don't get to develop this new version of who you are. So I don't want nobody sending me no messages about how I go ask my sister this question, but this is important. What do you think has been the gift of your condition for you? Because it's easy to, you know, this is not a story for me to come and, oh, you know, look at all these things that have gone wrong. No. What has been the gift in the condition that you've had in terms of the way in which you perhaps see the world or approach the world differently that you don't think you might have had if you were not born with this condition?
I think it's funny you asked that question because I remember having a conversation in hospital with some ladies in the Bay with me about how having a long-term condition, and I say long-term condition because it's not just a heart problem. You could have, you know, fibroids, you could have scoliosis, you could have, you know,
chronic
brain
pain,
damage,
something like that.
Things like that, things that keep you having to take medication and going to the hospital and things that affect your life daily where you're ill or you're in pain and things like that. Pain breeds growth. Whether you like it or not, pain breeds growth. So going to hospital and from a child seeing other kids ill, or, you know, having to learn how to talk to people from different backgrounds that I would never have met before if I hadn't been in hospital, or having, you know, even going outside of that, like during school, people were worried about the shoes they were wearing and, you know, they've got the latest Nikes and I'm just here going, well, I breathed today, so that's good.
I got out of bed.
Like, yay, I showered. Like, it makes you sort of, it makes you take into account the actual humanity of humans rather than the trappings that surround them. You know, when you're in hospital, you are at your most vulnerable, and those people are there to look after you. Some of them are nice, most of them are absolutely beautifully lovely people. Every now and again you encounter someone where you're just like, really? Oh God,
not you.
why do you exist? But you know, that's life. And it's also reminded me that, you know, sometimes you get on the bus, or sometimes you walk past someone and or something like that, or you know, they nudge you, or they push you forward, or whatever. And I think having a heart problem's reminded me to go, I don't know what's going on in their lives, because on the outside everyone sees this sort of facade, and I don't look like I necessarily have a heart problem. So sometimes it's even difficult to convince doctors that, hey, no, I am actually ill, like you need to look at my notes. So I think it just gives you, it makes you delve into humanity more. It gives you more time to think about those things that really matter to you, that really mean things to you, because you are in a hospital bed and you have nothing to do. Like, or when you're ill, you're laying in bed at home, nothing to do. When you're watching TV, your brain wanders because you watched this program yesterday and the day before, and now it's boring. So, you know, thank God for Netflix, by the way. Would really like to put that in there.
Yeah,
really
sponsored by
out.
Netflix. Not really, but you know, it should
really
be.
help out on the sick days when I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so bored.
There's something you said there that I think is really important, and I mentioned it in episode 1 actually of this season, which is this notion that we can look at what's going on with somebody else and then judge. It's like we judge what's going on here based on what we see of somebody else. It's like easy for somebody to walk past you and go, look at her looking like old Rihanna, and have no idea the reality that you're facing.
What you have to remember, whether you look at someone in the street, whether you judge someone at work, whether you judge someone in the hospital, you are looking at them through your view, through your experiences, through your judgment. You have absolutely no idea what that person is going through. Like, you have no idea. And then when you start talking to them, you realize their humanity. You realize the beautifulness of them as an individual, as a person. And you can't get that on a day-to-day basis because the world moves so fast, because it is literally go to work, go home, go do this, you know, step after step after step after step. We don't really take that breath to sort of realize how poignant and beautiful life can actually be, and how melancholy and how some of the saddest moments can be the most beautiful moments you will ever see, whether it's someone saying goodbye to their parents because they don't know if they're going to see them the next day, or whether it's seeing someone's entire family gather around them because they don't have long left, or whether it's just someone by themselves having to deal with all of this by themselves and just trying to get through, and just the kindness of strangers. You don't always see that on a day-to-day basis because you are running in this middle of the rat race all the time. So I think people who are ill do get that space to sort of be like, oh,
let me just sit in this moment. Yeah, let me sit in this moment. It's a beautiful reminder, like, you know, especially for women who are striving in business, we can get so caught up with the next thing that we need to do, and so caught up in these really kind of ethereal goals almost, that we miss the moments that are here right now. So let that be a reminder to you today. Here's your stretch, ladies, as you're listening to this, to just take a moment, just take a beat today, just to maybe smell the roses, you know, just say hi to a stranger, just smile at somebody in the street, you know, just something little to just really fully appreciate the little moments that really allow us to remain connected. So I'm going to move on to the next section of this interview, because I am really interested to understand from you what you see as a woman's power, because your view on the world is so unique with just the pure experiences that you've had growing up with so many medical challenges, which means that you're living in this world, but a different world at the same time. Yeah. So what do you think makes a woman powerful? What's the essence of a woman's power?
I think everything they say in magazines is utter nonsense.
Don't hold back.
Complete and utter nonsense. Your power is not in your shoes, love. Your power is not in your weave or your wig or your extensions or your hairstyle or your makeup or, you know, your breasts or your vagina or how long your legs are.
Did you just say vagina?
Is that not the technical term for
it is,
part
okay.
Of the body?
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. Yes, you just heard that on the show. We just said vagina.
But that's not it. That is not it. It's never been it. I've been in positions where I have been completely stripped naked in front of a whole room of people where they don't care that I have boobs or how tight my stomach is or whether my butt is pert. Like, they just don't care. They just look at you as like a new thing, and you in that moment have to still feel your humanity. You have to still feel like a woman. You have to still feel like you're worthy of being here, rather than just like being this thing in a specimen box that they kind of poke at and whatever. Mm-hmm. And yes, makeup and nice clothes and great shoes. I love shoes. Yes, she really does. You feel good, and that can add to it. But at the end of the day, you need to know that when you're stripped bare, you still have an understanding of the fact that you are a woman and you deserve the best. You are a woman and you deserve to be treated well. You are a woman, your essence is a woman, and you deserve to be put forward as that person and as someone who is respected, as someone who is spoken well to, as someone who is put in high regard, just off the basis of the fact that you are a woman and you are a human. That's it.
So it's that essence of being so secure in who you are, that none of the trappings are the thing that make you.
It's the internalness, you know. Mm-hmm. When you're sitting on a bed in a hospital and you have no makeup on and your hair is all over the place and you're half drugged up because they've given you some morphine or whatever, and your legs are akimbo and you just got no clothes on underneath the sheets because you've just come out of surgery, you don't feel like, ooh, sexy. Trust me, you don't.
You're not having that moment of check me out.
No, definitely not. You are at your most vulnerable, but at the same time, you are at your most powerful, mm-hmm. because you are like, I deserve to be treated well. I deserve to be, you know, if someone says something nasty to me or whatever, I'm like, hang on a minute, I'm not tolerating that. Just because I'm in a lower position at the moment that you think you are, because I'm in a more vulnerable position, does not mean that I don't deserve the respect that I should be given.
Hear, hear. So with all that being said, because I think that's like, I mean, a lot of us could do some work to kind of get to that place where we are okay regardless. You know, some folk can't, myself included, jump on something like this with no makeup and your hair ain't done. So, you know,
I can understand that. And makeup, and I'm not saying makeup and hair and whatever doesn't make you feel good. Obviously, you can see me wearing makeup. It makes me feel good. I did it great. Thank you. However, if I don't have makeup on, I don't feel like I Yes. I don't feel like I should suddenly be pushed to the side, or my words don't mean anything, mm-hmm. or, you know, because I am human. At the end of the day, I'm human. I have a brain, I have reasoning, I can think, I can do math some days, you know, all that sort of stuff.
So it's detaching your self-worth from all of the external trappings. Exactly. That it is those internal. Are things that you enjoy and you can indulge in, but were they not there, it doesn't take away your power. They're not the thing that give you power.
Shoes, but at the same time, that, I mean, for instance, when you look at homeless people, right? They're in a position of vulnerability. Mm-hmm. They are sort of the unseen, if you will. However, when you actually look at that and you use your brain, there is no reason to treat them disrespectfully, rudely, to assault them, to hurt them in any way, shape or form, just because they are not in the same position as you, just because they don't have the same trappings as you, just because they're not living in a big building, just because they don't have a doorman. Just
so it's getting to that space where you
trappings.
Can kind of go, it's within me. It's within me.
Humanity, rather than, you know, this outside
It's
world.
not external.
It's not external.
So
having a big ring is nice, but that doesn't really gain you any
girl,
respect.
don't get me wrong, I like myself a little bit of bling. But I agree. I totally agree. With or without the bling, it's still, the power is still
because
there.
You see people with bling and with the big houses and with whatever, they're still unhappy.
It's not going to bring you the happiness, and it's not going to bring you the joy.
They still don't have the same respect for themselves. That's the main thing. They don't respect themselves. They're not happy within themselves because they haven't looked within themselves, got to know themselves, and decided, hey, I'm good as me.
Being okay with exactly who you are.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the creme de la creme.
Oh dear.
Oh yes. We're gonna move through this. We're gonna do this one a little bit swiftly. So I am really curious. I was actually really excited about asking you this question about what your power tools are, because for me, I look at my baby sister and I'm like, girl, I don't know that I could handle what you handle on a day-to-day basis. I'm not even going to kid you. I get a sniffle and I have like, it's like woman down. It's not going to happen. Lysandra's there. I don't know how she does it. I do not know. Like the strength of 15,000 horses or something. I don't know. And so I am really curious to understand from you what the essence of your power is. Like when we take everything that you've achieved in your life, we were to boil that down to 3 things that have allowed you to have achieved the successes that you have in life, what would those 3 things be? Let's start with the first one.
I think having someone to be vulnerable around is, especially when you're a child, that's very important. I'm not saying you can't overcome that through therapy, through getting to know yourself, through all of that. I think I just had a little bit of a head start with that because I had my family around me who would literally have to pick me up off the floor and put me in the bed. So, you know, I knew that in my worst times, I had someone. Not everyone has that. And as you grow, you can become more reliant on yourself and stuff, but it's also nice to be able to be somewhat vulnerable in front of someone and not feel like they're going to run away and just abandon you. That is nice. And like, I remember a friend saying sometimes you make your own family. And so sometimes that doesn't happen when you're younger, but that could happen when you're older. And it's just nice, you know, having a friend kind of being like, oh, you're being an idiot right now, but I'm just going to let you do that. And then I'll talk to you next week when you've come down off of your high horse, but not someone who's gone, oh, you did this, so I have to leave. Or, oh, you said that, so I can't be a friend anymore. Like, it's just sort of, it makes you feel very insecure in yourself because then you don't.
It's almost like there's conditions to this.
Yeah.
If I break the conditions, you can walk out the door.
Exactly. And that can be very difficult to live with. And I'm not saying that I didn't feel some conditions when I was older, but I knew, you know, or when I was younger, but I knew at the end of the day, my mother was still going to be like, so you thought that was a smart idea, huh?
So it's having those people who've like truly got your back. I call them like, it's getting rid of the fair weather friends, you know, the ones that just show up when everything's good. But as soon as stuff hits the, you know,
the fan,
what do they say? When the rubber hits the road, they're in the vehicle leaving. Those ones.
They're like doing the roll outside the vehicle, like
layers
in the movies. They're just like rolling out.
But I do think it's a two-way street, right? Like in order to have those friends, you have to be vulnerable enough. You have to open yourself up and to see whether or not they're going to stay or not. You can't just conceal yourself and then open yourself up and then find out, you know.
And I think I didn't for a very long time emotionally open up to people. That's the thing that I had. a real trouble with. And that's the thing, I sort of was very scared of people leaving me because of that. But at the same time, I knew that medically, if I broke down, they weren't going to just leave me. And that's a very big thing for someone who is chronically ill, to know that you have relationships where, oh, I'm sorry, I can't come to that because I don't feel well today. They're not just going to be like, oh, you know what, every time I talk to you, you're not well, ill. So whatever. Like, that kind of helped me blossom as a person. It let me have that base ground so I could actually focus on other things to build my personality and things like that.
It's brilliant. I think it's applicable to everybody. Like, build really strong friendship. Well, not even just friendship, just networks around you, be that friends, family, colleagues, kind of doesn't matter, but those solid people that you know have got your back through thick and thin.
And also, this is a massive note, like huge. Get rid of the yes men. Get rid of them. Get rid of all of them. You want those people that are going to be like, you know, that's a bad idea, right? Like, even when you don't want to hear it. Idea. Like, you don't want to hear it. Maybe you're not even in the space to hear it. But like a week later, you'll be like, oh, they had a point.
They were onto something there, right?
But get those type of people who are willing to tell you the truth to your face, but don't hold that against you in the long run. So not the kind of people who will be like, well, girl, I told you so.
You want to ditch the I told you so friends, and you want to ditch the yes people, and in the middle you want to have that core of people who are going to tell you what you need to hear, do it with love, and not hold it against you.
Let you go on your journey and figure that out for yourself, and then still be there at the end of it being like, oh, so how'd that go? No? Okay, so what are we doing next? Kind of thing.
Yeah. And what would be your second power tool?
I remember growing up, what helped me a lot was philosophy and learning about humanity and what it means to be human, and those questions that you kind of have, like, and finding different answers to them, because philosophy is just a bunch of different answers to a series of questions, really, and different schools of thoughts on different things. And it's up to you to decide what speaks to you, what goes for you. And I remember when I was doing a philosophy teacher, one of the best things that I ever heard was, and it seems so simple now, but he put this water bottle in the middle of the room and there was a circle of students around it. And he said to me, oh, what do you see? And I said, oh, I see this label or whatever brand name it was, and blah, blah, blah. And the person was like, okay, cool. And then he points to somebody else on the other side of the room. Oh, what do you see? And this person was like, well, I see the ingredients, that it's from, you know, the Scottish Highlands or I don't know, Fuji or wherever. And he'd be like, oh, that's interesting. And his point was, we're both looking at the same thing, but we're coming from two different viewpoints and experiences and judgments and all that sort of stuff. And I think that is really good to know, especially when you're having an argument, or especially when you're not getting something your way, like in business, when you're trying to coax something out of someone or trying to get a deal, and they're kind of just they're not seeing your position. If you just remembering you're
actually in different positions. It's not that they're right and you're wrong, or
no, it doesn't
you're wrong and they're right. It's just you actually have very different perspectives on exactly the same thing, and therefore you could probably learn something from each other.
Yeah. The only time you are wrong is when you say that someone doesn't have a right to live because of their skin color, sexuality, or whatever. When you start imposing on somebody else's what's the word?
World rights,
humanity, somebody else's right to live, I suppose. And then I think that kind of really helped me get through a lot of the times when I was ill. And it gave me the freedom to think outside of the box. It gave me the freedom to not be so confined to certain things and to ask the really weird questions like, so why do we do this? Because this don't make no sense.
Yeah, it helps you to stay open to, maybe there's something I'm not seeing here. Maybe there's an opportunity for me to learn, to grow, to become a better human, just to become a better human. And what would be your third one? So secondly, psychology, and then your third power tool. This one's fun.
Sheer stubbornness.
Oh, I can vouch for that.
Like, honestly, sometimes you want something and the people around you don't see the vision that you want, but you see it and you're just like, I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. And that's what got me through my GCSEs.
Truth. And I think there's something to be said for that, because often we'll discount that kind of pig-headed stubbornness, and there's a fine line between being pig-headed and arrogant that your stubbornness is just going to walk you into a brick wall. But again, I think it comes back down to your first power tool, which is having the right group of people around you, that even when you're like that, they're like, boo, I don't see it, I don't think this is a good idea, but you do you. And afterwards, if it works, they're going to be there like, hey, what a great job. And if it doesn't, they'll just be like, well, you did it. Exactly. You got that one out of your system.
And I think it also comes down to being open to hearing people's thoughts about why they think you shouldn't do this thing, because they may have really valid points. On my end, for my family, it was a lot of, we're worried about your health. We don't want it to stress you out. We don't want it to stress your heart out. We don't want you to end up in hospital or make yourself more ill than you already are. On my point of view, it was, I want my GCSEs, I'm going to get them. And I hear your concerns. I take them into account. I'll try to do some things to, I'll take regular breaks or something like that to try to soothe them a little bit. But at the end of the day, I'm getting these GCSEs.
She did it.
Because I knew as a person, when you don't have the basic GCSEs or it's very difficult to then go back when you're older to get them. And I didn't want to be in that sort of position. So for me, that was a choice for me.
And I think that's something really important to remember. Like, if something is a real core dream and desire of yours, don't let it go. Don't let nobody talk it. We try to talk her out of a couple of them. There was one exam she took a couple of times.
They tried to talk me out of A levels. They talked me out of going to university. I mean, I never did complete the last two, but that's neither here nor there. The health did.
The health got in the way at that point.
The health decided to take their side on that one.
But, there's something to be said there about being that person who is so, I don't know anybody more strong-willed than my sister. Like, it would be like, okay, it's a graduation day. Lysandra could be ill for 4 days leading up to it. And she's just like, I'm coming. I'm coming. But Lysandra, you don't feel, I don't know who she has a word with. I mean, immediately afterwards, she's of no use to anybody for about 2 weeks. But if she sets her mind to, this is where I'm going and I want to be there and I want to support you, that's exactly what she's going to do. And I think there's definitely something to be said for everybody and being able to have the power of your conviction.
But it comes back to, and it ties back into what we were discussing earlier, because it comes down to core values. It comes down to how much you know yourself. It comes down to what is important to you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes what is important to you is so important that even if the doubters are saying things, you still know that for you, you need to get that. Or for you want to be there for your sister's graduation, you're going to be there for your sister's graduation.
And she had two of them back to back, and she did both of them.
And, you sort of somehow just pull yourself together for the time being. You kind of get through it, and you think to yourself, this is temporary. Remember, everything in life is temporary. Every moment of pain is temporary. It's there to teach you something. It's there to help you move on. It's there to help you discover things. But when you're in that moment of the pain, you're kind of just like, oh no.
Oh, Lysandra, we don't talk about a lot. You know what? You got me here rabbiting on.
Oh, I have one more.
One more thing.
Oh, one more.
This is her first podcast. She got started, and I can't stop her. Here you go. Take the space, boo boo.
And I think this is very important. Humbleness. You are where you are in life at the moment. The person you're talking to are where they are in life at the moment. They have the understanding that they have of life and themselves. You have the understanding that you have of life and yourselves. One of you may be ahead of the other. Don't put the other person down. You don't know where that person is going to go. You're not better than them. No one's better than anybody. We're all humans, all trying to strive for the same things, which is security, financial security, love, and just feeling comfortable and being able to live our lives. So that person you decided to talk badly to the other day because you were in a bad mood, they didn't deserve that. You need to know your own emotions before you start dumping on other people, because they too have their own emotions that they're dealing with. So be humble. And like Kendrick Lamar says, be humble, sit down.
Own your stuff. Lysandra, there'll be people who've been listening to this episode and they'll be like, wow, I need a little bit of this chick in my life. What is the best way of them connecting in with you?
Probably Instagram. If you want to contact me on Instagram, that's fine. My Instagram is at Lysandra Smith.
That is all in the notes as well. So just go down to the show notes and you'll be able to find it in there, click and go straight over. We've spoken about so much today, like so much. What is the one thing that you would really love to leave our listeners with today?
You as an individual are important. You are worthy. You are a star in your own making. Don't let anyone take that away from you. People will doubt you. People will gossip about you. People will say bad things about you. That's none of your business. What you need to do is what you need to do. And what you need to do is learn about yourself, learn your place in this big, great world of humanity, and continue on your path and your journey of learning and improving yourself as an individual, as a human, as a woman or a man, or any other non-binary person. And that is what you're here for. Also, be kind to others, because you really don't know what they're going through.
Boom, mic drop moment. I'm going to get myself one of these phone microphones so I can just do it. Like, I'm going to come on the next episode with like this huge, I'm saying that like I'm going to have enough time to get it, like a huge phone microphone that I can just do. It's going to be so cool. Seriously, it will.
Honestly.
That is a wrap. Lysandra, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Girl, you done dropped some wisdoms. I'm telling you.
That, but thank you for having me.
I'm telling you, done dropped some wisdoms. You've been listening to the Lovelda Show Women of Power podcast. Now listen, if you have not yet hit that subscribe button, please do. Do take a moment to check out all of the show notes, and you will see I do have an upcoming course. So you do want to click on that and check out all of the details. If you are really ready to go out and get your name known and heard, I am going to show you exactly how to spruce your profile up and do it with you such that you can get that done. Until the next episode, if you have not yet hit that subscribe button, I want to know what you're waiting for. Until next time, ladies. Ciao.